Everybody, it's really dark, so let's see how I can fix that. All right, everybody, hi. I'm just waiting for my Facebook to load up. All right, hi, I'm working, but I did promise a live, so here I am, but it won't be that long. Hi, I'm Dr. Tamu of Coaching by Tamu. Sorry for the lighting, I don't know what's going on. My light's here, but it still looks really dark. Maybe I should put it here, sister. Let me see if this works a little better. Anyway, let me talk about what I'm talking about quickly. My thing broke, so let me just do this. So, hello everybody, I'm Dr. Tamu, Petra Brown of Coaching by Tamu, Innovative Education and Training Solutions, and it's a really busy week for me. But I promised I'd stop on here and talk about entrepreneurship versus small business. And the reason is because when we talk about entrepreneurs, we really are talking about people that are not small business owners. And so an entrepreneur may own a small venture, but the difference between an entrepreneur and a small business owner really lies with the nature of the venture. Okay? So now I want to put a disclaimer. This video is not a discussion about which one is better, right? Everybody got to be in their own lane. It's just for you to be able to wrap your mind around the concept of entrepreneurship. Hi Veronica, Sassy B Clutches. I hope you've been in the classroom for week 2 for Jumpstart Your Business. And the reason I'm talking about entrepreneur versus small business is because I want you to understand that there is a mindset difference, and the very essence of the type or the way that you do business is different, okay? And so once again, this is not to discuss whether a small business owner is better or worse than an entrepreneur or vice versa. This is not what we're doing. I'm just telling you that there's a difference. So what's the difference? The difference is that when we talk about entrepreneurship, we're talking about innovation. So entrepreneurs are different to small business owners in the fact that entrepreneurs seek to do business in an innovative way. So this is the huge difference, okay? Now, like I said, it doesn't mean that you don't operate a small business, but it means that you're not doing the business in the way that everyone is doing it. And so when we talk about innovation, a lot of people are like, well, what does that mean, right? So innovation is really the ability to monetize your creativity in a new and novel way, okay? So for instance, I used to give this example in my class when I was lecturing entrepreneurship, okay, for CAPE, CXC. And I used to say, okay, imagine you go down one of the major streets in your city, for St. Kitts, Bastille, Fort Street, okay? And you go down and you see all of these clothing stores. So all of these clothing stores, they are small businesses. But then you see there's a new store on the block. And when you go in, you realize that, guess what? There are actually no clothes. There are just mirrors with options, touchscreen mirrors with options, and you can see what's in inventory, click your size, and it superimposes the outfit on you. You can turn around, you can pose, you can stretch to see how this outfit looks on you. So they are selling clothes. You love it, you click buy, and you pay with your card right in that mirror space, and someone brings it out to you, right? Maybe you get a number and somebody brings that out to you. Now that is an entrepreneur, right? Compared to a small business owner. So hi, Kim, the college advisor. Hi, Rejuvenate 869. So what I'm talking about is the difference between an entrepreneur and a small business owner. And once again, just as a disclaimer, I'm not saying anyone is better than the other. I just want you to understand that there is a difference, and the difference lies in the manner in which you do business. An entrepreneur is an innovator, okay? A small business owner is someone who is conducting business, but there is nothing particularly innovative or novel in the way in which that business is conducted. Now let's talk about innovation and ways that you can innovate. So ways that you can innovate would be, you can innovate, of course, on the product. So you create or modify a product to do something that it has never been able to do. You can innovate on the process. So innovation on the process is like that example that I gave. You go into a clothing store. There are no clothes in the clothing store. Instead, there's just a virtual reality mirror. You choose, you look through, you browse through by swiping, you choose your outfit, and you can see how that outfit looks on you. You pay, and maybe there's a conveyor belt, and you punch in a code that you got by your phone, and you collect your item. That's a process innovation, right? You can also innovate by paradigm. So a paradigm innovation means that you are changing the entire way that type of business in that industry you are in is conducted. So for instance, a paradigm shift, let's talk about education, all right? When I began innovative education and training in 2012, and I began saying, you can do your classes with me online. You don't ever have to see me. I don't ever have to see you. You don't ever have to be in a physical space. In 2012, this is when I started. That was an example of a paradigm innovation. It means that I was attempting to shift the way people thought that education could be delivered. It could also be seen as a process innovation as well, right? So you have the paradigm innovation when you consider new and novel ways of how an industry works. How an industry works. So we have process innovation, okay? We have product innovation. So process, product, paradigm, and there's one more, position. Yes, position innovation. So when we talk about position innovation, it's modifying the way that people consider how one's brands can be positioned. So let me give an example. So for instance, Amazon checks all the boxes, but let's talk about it with position. So remember that Amazon started as a bookseller online. But Amazon has shifted the perception of the consumer from that, because they have shifted the way that they do business. And now Amazon is positioned in our minds as the place to get anything you want in the most efficient way, wherever you are in the world, and conducting that transaction entirely online. And so they have shifted the way we think about accessibility, right? The way we think about shopping. So that would be a position innovation. Hello, el hombre mismo. How are you? So if you are in business and you want to make the shift from small business owner to entrepreneur, then you have to take on innovations. Let me turn this way because I'm also on Facebook and I'm looking off, right? So you want to make the shift and you want to consider, how can I innovate? Hey, Escan Village, what you doing, Javin? Long time me hear you. Okay? You want to innovate. So the thing is, and if you don't want to innovate, there is nothing wrong with being a small business owner. Small business owners world over can be making huge money, especially in larger markets. But what I'm saying is that the future is for the innovative, and that the entrepreneur is the innovator. And so that is why I'm good, Escan Village. And so that is why, no matter how small innovative businesses started out, do you realize they never called them small businesses? So when the founders of Facebook and Google, etc., they were, you know the story. There was dropout from university and coding in basement and story, right? They never said, oh, look, they were creating small businesses. You realize that? They said that they were entrepreneurs working on innovations. Okay? Innovations. And so that is why when I work with my Level Up ladies, right? And they're the ones who were with me 6 months of this year. We spoke about scaling, and that the route to scaling is always, should be, one component should be through invention. But please understand that invention without commercialization is not innovation. So the innovation piece is where you can satisfactorily move from ideation to invention to commercialization. And once again, we always consider or think, for some reason, right, that when we talk about invention and innovation, we're only talking about product innovation. Probably that's because that is what is most obvious in our society and it's easiest to spot. But remember, there are 4 P's of innovation. This is something that we did, if you did entrepreneurship at CXC with me, and we have an email course for that to prepare you to do entrepreneurship at CXC. They spend a lot of time on innovation and the nature of innovation. Now, let's also talk about what innovation is not, okay? Innovation is not an idea. Innovation is not an invention that has not been put to some monetary use, you have not received money from it, it's not an innovation. It could be an invention, but it's not an innovation. And innovation does not have to be new to the world. That's one type of innovation, but those are rare, right? So an innovation does not have to be new to the world. It can be new to your market, but understand that it is not your innovation, but it is an innovation that has been introduced into the market. Got that? Another thing is that an innovation can be the modification of an existing product, process, paradigm, right? To create something new. So your innovation does not have to be new from beginning to end. You see how something is being delivered. You see how something is created. You see how it is positioned, and you figure if you made this one tweak, it could be better. It could solve customers' pains more efficiently, right? It is better if we modify it in this way for the developing world or for the Caribbean, because how it is created now, it only works for one part of the world or one ethnicity or one race. It's not socio-culturally relevant. You can make these modifications, and then that is the innovation. So I'm talking about the difference between entrepreneur and small business person because I really am in the business, and I'm going to be very stringent about this. I'm only going to be working with entrepreneurs. Why? Because there are many people out there working to help small business owners. I really get excited when I see people considering new ways of doing things. And my brother would call me an idea factory when we were growing up, right? And I'm always able to figure out what can change, what can shift, what can be different, and how it can be monetized. Another thing that I think is important to note that innovation does not have to be is that innovation does not have to be a high technology. Because there's high tech, there's low tech, and there's no tech. Okay? So sometimes we feel like we cannot innovate because you feel like innovation has to do with, some... Sorry, I paused because I'm hearing myself on something else. So let me stop it. Okay, good. So we feel that innovation has to involve technology. Innovation does not have to involve technology. Innovation is just making something different or delivering it in a different manner or changing the way an entire industry is run, right? Or how it is positioned. But that does not have to involve tech. So get that right. So Catherine Dorr says, that was great foresight. COVID-19 showed that if you don't be innovative, you'll be left behind. That's right, Catherine. So Catherine was talking about how in 2012, I was doing online classes because I was like, this thing about showing up and coming on bus, and you have children and family, and you have to still make it in class, and then you're in class with 16, 17, 18-year-olds annoying you. It was just, like there must have been a better way, and that better way was distance, right? Via email, via online. So email classes, that's a great example of how you don't need high tech to innovate. So online classes, that high tech type of thing, learning management systems, etc. We have that. But we also have low tech, which is just sending out your classes by email. You see, it's something that you do differently. Kim, the college advisor, says online classes are running the world now. Yeah, online classes are running the world now, and it took people, this is 2020, I did that in 2012. It took people 8 years to figure that out. I'm already on to the next thing. I'm moving on to, I'm beyond virtual reality. So I'm moving on to augmented reality and mixed reality to enable people to have experiences. So you will see that I am going to be repositioning to have entrepreneurs and just people who want to develop personally and professionally have experiential opportunities, experiences that can elevate them either professionally or personally. And for me, I love tech, so I will be using high tech, but I'll also be using low tech, and I'll also be using no tech. Okay, so the question is, are you thinking that you should make the shift to innovator and entrepreneur from your small business? And there are some things to consider. When you move to entrepreneurial innovation, you have to know where that innovation is going to serve, or where is it going to serve. Because oftentimes, like in the Caribbean, we're ahead, right? Our innovations are ahead of what people are comfortable doing. And so your innovations, though they might be helpful to your community, they may not be embraced by your community or market. But the good news is, because of innovation, the world is your market. Okay? And so this is something that you have to keep in mind. As an innovator as well, you see things in a way that other people just cannot see. Just cannot see. They don't know what you're talking about. They don't understand how it will help their life. And you have to be really good at communicating to people how this new thing or doing things in a new way will solve their pain. Because the problem is that as an innovator, you get caught up in talking about your innovation in these, jargony terms. But the regular person who's going to be using your innovation, they cannot grasp what that is, because you haven't translated it back to the user and how that helps the user. So let me share what I'm doing right now. Hey, Petra Princess P. Newton. I just came off a meeting with University in Chile, where I am enrolled in their Stanford Design Innovation Lab program. And myself, along with my team, we are working on innovations, okay? And that's all I say, because it's a team effort, so I can't be blabbing out everything. But the thing is that what I am finding is that in the Caribbean, we have hardly ever been tasked to create things that are new. And oftentimes when we do create things that are new, let me say this. Oftentimes we're creating things that the market thinks are new, right? But they're not new. Other people in the world have been doing these things like maybe 5 years ago. But remember, if it's new to your market, it's an innovation in your market. So that's okay. Now, how will you move to entrepreneurial status, right? How will you shift from the small business owner to the entrepreneur? Well, the thing is, you can't innovate without knowledge. And I'll tell you this from an educator's perspective. I'm a certified educator, all right? I didn't just teach. I have a diploma in ed. Of course, I taught. I have a teaching certificate. I know and understand teaching as a craft, right? And in education, there's this term known as scaffolding, which means that you cannot learn, well, it's more difficult to learn new things or attain new knowledge and transfer that knowledge anywhere if you don't have some baseline previous knowledge. So it's like a scaffold. You know, you can't put up a scaffold on nothing. You got to go upon something down below. And the same is true with innovation. In order to be innovative, your mind has to work a certain way. And I am very conflicted about whether or not people can learn to be innovative. I'm not sure. It's something I wanted to study. I wonder, I don't know. But what I can tell you is that innovation, of course, requires putting knowledge together in new ways. So if it includes putting knowledge together in new ways and being able to monetize that, then the precursor to that is knowledge, which means that you have to be feeding your mind, you have to be experiencing things, you have to be putting yourself in spaces and places and with people that you don't normally engage with, so that you are able to get more knowledge from them, learn new things, garner ideas from experiences, and these sorts of things. And this is where we really come back to that network theory that I'm always talking about. The idea that your network has to be made up of diverse people who bring diverse information, diverse resources, and that if you're still hanging with the same people who themselves are not engaged with any new information, you're going to be stagnant. So hustleforhers.skn says, yes, you have to be able to adapt. So the question is, do you have an innovator's mindset? Do you want an innovator's mindset? And how are you going to begin the process of innovating if that is indeed what you want to do? If you want to make the shift from a small business owner to an entrepreneur. Now, though I wouldn't even say the future, right? Like the now requires innovators, because right now we are struggling, right? We're struggling to understand a lot of things in our context. We're struggling to understand in St. Kitts and Nevis what, well, I don't know if we're struggling to understand or if people even care to understand, but we should want to understand why is it that our people are staying well from COVID? Because other people have had their borders shut and, you know, COVID was still spreading. So where's the research? As an innovator and an entrepreneur, you have to know how to engage in research. You also have to engage in design thinking, right? Where you know, just learn as much as you can and work with your end users to design innovations. Now, sometimes you can't do that because people cannot fathom your innovations. Those are the innovations that are new to the world, like a cell phone. Can you imagine him saying, like, yeah, I want to make calls over no wire? You know, back then everybody would be like, what he talking is crazy, right? So sometimes you can't have that design thinking with the user, but you can do so through observing how people do things and figuring out there has to be a better way, and figuring out how to create that better way and then how to commercialize that better way. We have become a nation and a region. I'll answer you, Kim, the college advisor. A nation and a region of consumers and no creators. And that is going to make us slaves. And yes, I said it once again. So Sassy V Clutches says, I think I do. She thinks she's an entrepreneur. Kim, the college advisor, says, can one be an innovator as an employee? Of course, because innovation is a mindset, right? And in the entrepreneurship literature, you have what is known as the intrapreneur. And the intrapreneur is an entrepreneur who operates in an innovative space in an organization. So they're the organization's innovator. Now, your organization may not have the platform or opportunity for you to innovate. So you have to use your innovation skills elsewhere. Or you can just come up with innovations that help your institution, but you have to figure out how to be rewarded and remunerated for such. I also always say that don't do anything too big in your organization, because most organizations have a policy that whatever you create when you in the process of your work with them ends up being theirs even when you leave. So I would say innovate. You can practice your innovation skills, but if you have a really great idea for commercialization, you innovate that away from your job, and maybe your job, if they are a potential user, they can become your first client. But yes, you can be an innovator as an employee in those circumstances. You will find, however, yes, Kim, that's how it goes, girl. You will find, however, that people with innovative mindsets do not work well or do not thrive well in institutions where that innovation continues to be stifled, where you do not have an opportunity to try, to experiment, to consider new things, try new things, right? So if you don't work in an environment like that, it's very difficult to innovate because, people are closed-minded. And so you have to find different outlets for that innovation. And so you do your job, but your real mental work, your real innovative work happens after that. After that. And I chose this topic because I'm passionate about it. Actually, what I wanted to really study for my doctorate was if innovation is biological. Because it would explain a lot. Like, suppose you can't learn to be innovative. Suppose it's like something like singing. Like, you could either sing well or you cannot sing well. You can either innovate or you cannot innovate. Then we would be wasting a lot of time doing these innovation programs and all of this if people cannot learn to innovate. And so that is what I really wanted to study. I probably would have had to study at like MIT or one of these things. I probably wouldn't have been able to get in. And UWI said they did not have anyone who could supervise me on such a topic. But the reason this is so important is that, as you can see, well, let me say it this way. The world has been shifting. This new normal story that COVID has brought, it's like a slang, because there has been a new normal on its way for a very long time. It is just that those of us who are outside of the societies, which are the developed world societies, like the Asia, like, parts of America, like the Nordic countries, where innovation is out there and thriving, we didn't realize that the world was shifting because our world was not. So the new normal really is just new to us. And the truth is that if you do not have an innovative mindset and you cannot be an innovator and hence an entrepreneur, you cannot survive in the world that is unfolding before us. the jobs that will become available, the skills that will be required, will all require an innovator's mindset. This is important to know. Another thing that I like to explain to people is that innovation, yes, the typical definition is what I would have given you before. You have to be able to commercialize. But let me tell you something. You need to apply an innovator's mindset to your own life, especially right now. You have to begin to rethink and reimagine you. You're the product. So how are you innovating you in order to monetize you? How are you innovating on the process you are going to use to grow and develop professionally and personally? Because the way that you were doing it, peace, chaka, sometime, maybe next week, that ain't gonna work. You need to figure out a much more effective and efficient way to get to the end goal. So you have to have an innovator's mindset for that. Then you have to have an innovator's mindset for the paradigm. How are you thinking of yourself in the world? Remember, I spoke on another live about the future self. You have to innovate that future self, because the future world you can't fit into it how you be now. So, okay? So if you're not innovating yourself, you're gone about your business. You're going to be obsolete. You're going to be extinct. You're going to be like the sugar industry in St. Kitts and Nevis. It doesn't exist. Then you have to figure out, well, how do I reposition myself? How am I innovating my position in the minds of people, my brand in the minds of people, to say that, look, I am and I have the skills required and the type of mindset and 21st century skills that are required for what they are dubbing the new normal and beyond. So innovation goes beyond that entrepreneurial concept. It also goes to a personal concept. And so I got some innovation to do with my team, and so I can't stay on this live much longer, but I want to challenge you to figure out, how can you innovate? What ways can you innovate? And begin the path to innovation. And remember, soon, 2021, I will only be working with entrepreneurs and innovators. So thank you for showing up. I appreciate it. If you're just seeing it, it's on the replay. It's Dr. Tamu of Coaching by Tamu and Innovative Education and Training Solutions, and I'm challenging you to be an innovator personally and professionally. Bye.